There you go. Okay.
Yeah. Everybody settle
Vinny
in,
Tortorich
please.
here. Hey, man.
All right,
if you're a
start the
fan of
commercials.
Izzy,
Just hold tight.
you might be a fan of me, too.
Okay.
I'm the guy that gets people to lose a lot of weight. I have something free for you guys. This is no clickbait. Just go to VinnyTortorich.com, and there's a big banner. It's a free PDF, How to Lose Weight. It's an intro guide to
I can't hear you over the commercials.
VinnyTortorich.com. Go check it out exclusively for anyone who listens to Izzy Presley. Thank you.
Replay Guitar Exchange is your premier.
One more commercial after
guitar
this, and I'll hit the
store.
intro.
Being independent is good.
What's the commercial for?
With all of the major
Vinny
brands,
Tortorich,
including
he's the
new,
no sugar, no
vintage,
grain
and
guy.
pre-owned. You can
And
find the guitar, bass,
this is
amp,
Replay
or
Guitar
accessory
Exchange
you're
in
dreaming of. From
Tampa.
vintage to the newest models.
And
Replay Guitar
the
Exchange
next
can
one's
help
going to be
you
the
find that
Rockwood
perfect
Saloon.
piece.
They do
They
rock
have
and roll
industry veteran expert
gear and
staff.
stuff.
All players
Very
like
good.
you down to the
Sounds
owner.
good.
You
Sounds
aren't just getting a great guitar. You're getting the Replay difference. Find them online at replayguitar.com and find your dream guitar today.
All right, Rockwood
Rockwood
Saloon.
Saloon Authentic Apparel takes rock and roll fashion to a new level with their tees and tanks for men and women. They also make custom shirts, jackets, vests, pants, hoodies, beanies, and more. The Rockwood
I think a shot of Jack Daniels might
design
help.
anything from your logo.
Oh,
T-shirt
no,
design,
that's-
promo
that's
posters,
not-
band swag,
no.
and printed.
Oh, no,
at
it'll be
prices.
fine. It'll be
From
fine.
Tour shirts and
Sometimes
custom
it helps.
stage gear to killer
Sometimes.
threads for the street to the
Bites me in
stage.
the ass.
Rockwood Saloon has it all. Rockwood Saloon, authentic rock and roll apparel for stage and street. World tour tested for quality, comfort, style, and durability. Check them out at www.rockwoodsaloon.com.
All right, hitting the intro.
That's rockwoodsaloon.com.
Hi, this is Bobby Brown, and welcome to another fucking
You
podcast.
kids with your loud music and your Dan Fogelberg, your Zima, hula hoops, and Pac-Man video games, don't you see? People today have attention spans that can only be measured in nanoseconds.
See, son, old legends never die. They just lose weight.
Like a legend and an out-of-work bum with a lot of life.
Yes, it is party time. Hello, Hollywood. Hello, world. And hello, my loyal minions. It is good to see you, and it's always good to be seen. My name is Izzy Presley, and welcome to another fucking podcast. Second show this week. We had Kate Quigley on last night. Very, very, very fun show. Go back and check that one out. Make sure you hit all the social media at Real Izzy Presley. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I find out everything I'm doing entertainment-wise and fun stuff, see what I'm eating and all that kind of good stuff. And also, the show page is Another Effin' Podcast on the Facebook. Hit that shop button. Buy t-shirts. Buy all that kind of good stuff. If you want to donate to the show, it is very, very easy. It's izzypresley@yahoo.com is the PayPal. Go ahead and send me money because I live in LA and I am poor. But, you know, it's what happens when you're chasing the dream. Well, I'm just gonna jump right into this, and I've been bugging this lady for over 6 years, maybe 7 years, sending her yearly emails, and the last couple of years I've been extremely hammered with delusions of grandeur while sending these emails in the middle of the night. She is probably my favorite vocalist of all time. Yes, Johnette, that is why I am so goddamn nervous right now.
That's sad.
I know. I know. Please welcome to Another Effin' Podcast, Johnette Napolitano. Thank you. Thank you. How are you this
Thank you,
evening?
sweetheart. I'm very, very, very well. I'm
all
very
right.
good.
I'm doing my shot of
Very
Jack
good.
Daniels nut right now to calm
Are
my
you really?
nerves. Yep.
Oh my God. Are you really? That's fighting. That's fighting. That's fighting juice.
That's the good stuff. That's the good stuff. So you were born in Hollywood.
I was indeed. Yeah, absolutely.
How was
Serrano, which is in near, in the lowlands there.
Okay.
Yeah, right off Western.
Yeah.
Western. It's now not interestingly, it's actually I think Russian neighborhood now, which is my grandma actually was Russian, but I don't think the two things are related whatsoever. But yeah, it's still there, and it was a little courtyard thing, and my grandma and my mom and Bela Lugosi actually lived in that little courtyard. Do you remember what it looked like in the movie? Yeah, that was exactly the deal. And my mom said that he used to babysit me sometime, and I have two things that I feel about that. One is that she's probably exaggerating because she always did, and two, she would leave me with a junkie. So, but that's the story, and it's, whatever. That was the deal. So yes, the answer is yes, I was, for sure.
How? What was it like growing up in Hollywood? I mean, I grew up in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and you just have all these visions of like living out here and growing up out here, and it's obviously very different than probably what it actually was.
Yeah, well, that's the thing about Hollywood. It's like that's the whole point. Is that it's everybody's dream, whatever you want it to be or whatever you think it is. Mm-hmm. And to me, it was my dad worked on Santa Monica Boulevard, which is now it's called, Tide Auto Spa. It's right there, I think, around Fairfax or something in Santa Monica. And that was Tide, next to Plummer Park, and that was Tide Oil at the time. And that's where my dad worked when I was born. He was a gas station guy there. And so he started his own business and did swimming pools. And so it was super, super Hollywood, because he would be like, come home late and like my mom's pissed, and he had been like, drinking beer with Rod Steiger or some shit like that, and he walked into Mario Lanza, who is a legend to anybody Italian or Italian American, was one of his pools that he did, and he used to bring carrots from Mario's grave, and he really took it hard when Mario Alonso died, and he was very young. He did Jane Mansfield's pool, which is heart-shaped.
Oh,
and
wow.
And it's up in the Palisades, I think, somewhere. But in a very strange, there's no coincidence in the world anyway, in New Orleans, I met somebody whose father bought that frickin' house, and they never even told him that it used to belong to Jane Mansfield. And I was like, heart-shaped pool, and I'm like, there's only one, right? And I'm like, is it here? Here? Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, that's kind of bizarre. They didn't disclose that it was Jane Mansfield's house, because she only got her head cut off. So,
right?
I mean, that's a nice vibe. But yeah, right. It was super Hollywood. And he used to do Peter Lawford's pool. And he walked in on a skinny dipping, and Peter Lawford's out there on the beach somewhere, or was, and that was the big deal, because the helicopter that carried Bobby Kennedy was seen the night Marilyn was killed on the beach by Peter Lawford. So, yeah, it's deep. And so my dad walked in, and my dad, he's all cool, and he comes in, and it's either, I can't remember if it was Angie Dickinson or Marilyn Monroe, but it was one of those two, and Sammy Davis Jr. and Peter Lawford, and I think one of the Kennedys, but I'm not sure. And they go, "Hey, John, come on in." And they're all naked, they're all skinny dipping. And my dad's like, "I'll be back later." He's all freaking out, So that was the deal, that was the vibe.
I was waiting for you to drop the Elvis Presley name too, and maybe he did his pool.
Now, I was wondering if you want an Elvis Presley story.
Yes.
I've got a really... Okay, well, here's the deal. So there is a place. I actually have a couple of them. There's which one should I start with? They're both so cool. One, there's a place called, I think it's called the High and Dry or the High Note or something in Memphis, and it's a club, and it's just a little scruffy rock club or whatever. And I was playing there, and I walked in, and I've got that whole I see and hear dead people kind of thing going on, and immediately, it's Memphis, and I'm just seeing like people walk around the room as if they own the place. Right. And so I asked the guy there, I said, "What was this place before it was a club?" And he goes, "Oh, it's been a club since the 80s." What I mean? And I go, it's Memphis, you know what I mean? It's the fucking South, for God's sake. Yeah. And so I just said, no, dude, this place has been here a long time. Like, what was it? And because I'm seeing people walk around, and he said, "Oh, it was a dojo where Elvis used to do his karate thing."
Holy shit.
And I know. And the guy that owned the building and still live upstairs was his, whatever you call them, masters or
sensei.
All the dojo master. Sensei. I knew it was an S thing word, but I didn't want to say Samson.
Samsonite. I knew it started with an S.
I know, that's as close as I get, and I'm happy these days. If I get that close, I'm winning. It's
right.
Fine. So yeah, absolutely. So the cool thing was it was an amazing little building, and it was in a little center of town in a really old shitty part of town, run down. And the salon where Priscilla used to get her hair done was upstairs or something across the street. So there was a painting in the place that in the dressing room, which was just a bunch of antiques and weird junk thrown around, and all trashed up and tagged and everything. And it was this massive painting that I had to have. It was just something about it. I had to have it. It was like freaking 10 feet by 4 feet or something, and it was all getting all tagged up and shitty, and I had to have it. And so my tour manager and the guy took it off the wall, and behind it was a glass control room window, and it had been apparently also a recording studio.
Holy
and
shit.
a control booth. So I don't know. I know it was deep. It was deep, but here's one better than that, if you can imagine. So there's a hotel, an old hotel called Spence Manor in Nashville, and it's where the old Nashville Museum Hall of Fame, Music Hall of Fame, or whatever it was. It's not there anymore, but the old one, the first one, it was right across the street from it. And so Spence Manor, and it had a guitar-shaped swimming pool. Okay, it still does. But back in the day, it was the place to stay. All the suites had grand pianos in them and kitchens and everything, and it was the place to be in Nashville back in the day. And so I'm in the Spence Manor, and it's gone to seed. Now I think they've done it up and everything. This was like 20 years ago, I think. And it had gone, it was all shitty and kind of, at the wrong end of the boulevard now, and things were looking all crappy up along Music Row. It was the end of Music Row. And so I'm sitting there, talking on the phone, and I see somebody walk through the living room in a light suit, like a shark skin kind of a suit. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I go, well, okay, that's weird. And see, that's, for me, that was the fun part of touring, is that, that shit was all over the place for me. I was a magnet for that shit everywhere. Yeah. And there's, and I'm from Hollywood, and that's not as old as the East Coast and the South, and you know what I mean? So it's all going on down there. And so I called the desk, and I said, hey, I said, I'm just saying, I just saw somebody walk across my room, and I just want to know if this place is haunted. And the guy says, what was he wearing? So, and I said he was wearing a suit. It was a sharkskin suit, and he said, well, that was the room where, he said, it's either Elvis or Sinatra, because
Holy
people
shit.
either see Elvis or Sinatra, and that was the room where the Rat Pack used to stay.
Wow.
So and there was a grand piano in that room, So when I get a room like that, in a place like that, I'll just get takeout and just sit and just write songs for 2 days, because just the energy is just, it's just all going your way with a setting like that. It's just amazing. So there's my Elvis, my vibe.
See,
I'm showing you an Elvis bug.
And this is something that I didn't actually know about you. I didn't know you had that sense. And so now I have more questions just about that. I mean, have you watched like celebrity ghost stories and stuff like that? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, it's the only thing that is truly unifying in that every possible religion or lack of has spirituality. There's acknowledging ancestors or presence. Even in Feng Shui, in Chinese, there's a corner of your house that is just, that you use for a closet or something, where nobody will be at night, because that's where the ghosts hang out. I mean, it's just a really natural part of life. It's an extremely natural part of life, and it's just kind of weird that people don't. It's a very comforting thing too. I mean, I think that's what's essentially bothering collectively people, is that you're told this is it, and in your soul this isn't it. There's more than this, but everybody's telling you that this is it, and it's supposed to be enough, and you're supposed to be happy with all of this. And in your spirit, in your soul, you're not. And they're telling you one thing that you should be, and you're not. And so it's just something that's really, if you took every conversation, I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, and if you took every contemporary conversation now that we're having about mental health, I would replace mental with spiritual for 75% of it. you know, and whatever that means to anybody, you know. And when you realize you're in touch with this, and when you're in touch with ancestry, you know, which is really cool. I just did the 23andMe thing. I am Ukrainian. I am Ukraine. I can talk now like a normal spell. Who knew?
Yeah. Oh, I know, right?
Actually, well, yeah. This is interesting because my grandmother is Russian, like 100%, and I knew that on my father's side. But in you know, when a name is changed and the male, you know, it becomes a patriarchal situation where the Napolitano, you know, is obviously the vibe. And so, you know, the vibe was Italian. You know, whether you know, no matter how much of it was, you know, your name's Italian, and that's, you know, still I get called names when I'm a little kid,
right? All
kinds of greaseball names.
Oh yeah, right. Hey, try growing up as a ginger.
Oh, I know.
It sucked.
The redheaded stepchild.
I am.
God bless you.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm sorry. Continue.
Well, no, they say, because I have a friend from Ireland. If you listen to Rosie, hello there. How are you, fuckers? Connor lost again. So, but she's a ginger, and I read a big thing about you guys are going to be extinct very soon. You better get your mating on. Maybe I should fix you up with Rosie. That'd be cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Irish exchange.
Well,
wow.
You know, it's funny. You see all these things where, like, they're paying, like, a lot of money for, like, the male ginger seed, but I can't seem to find these places.
Really?
That's the rumor.
Well, let's put it out there.
I know.
Let's, you know, come on. Let's do a public service. Let's get you some.
Fuck. I'm gonna say is fuck GoFundMe. I'm just gonna sell my ginger seed. There you go.
GoFundMe ginger seed, golden ginger seed.
I think there was a porn like that once.
I think, yeah, exactly. Oh, you know what? I smell money. I don't know. What can I say? I think somebody's gonna bite. What's that show? Shark Tank.
Yes, Shark Tank.
I'm telling you, people would be a fool to not invest in ginger sperm, golden sperm. You see, all you need, you know, it's more golden.
Right. How old were you when you figured out that you were able to sense spirits and all that stuff?
So little, like between 2 and 5, and I could see mostly hearing.
Okay.
And that's where, you know, 99% of the music comes from, you know, is hearing things. And not just for me, but I mean, how many times does anybody have it, you know, before you fall asleep, which is the time, you know, that the veil is thin and these things are just coming back and forth. And you get that great idea and you go, I'll chase it down in the morning. And in the morning it is gone.
Yep.
So, you know, that's what that's all about. And Clairaudience is what it's called when you hear things. And or Nikola Tesla, he was very he dreamt you know, his plans and ideas and was dictated by, you know, a source. And Joe Meek, who's the very famous Wild Ass record producer, that's such a great movie. If you haven't seen that, that's such an amazing film. I don't think it came out in the States, but it's crazy and fucked up as he was. I'm a huge Joe Meek fan. He was like the Phil Spector of London at one time, and he did Telstar. Telstar was and it was written when Sputnik was launched. I think it was 1957, the year I was born.
Oh,
so,
wow.
And Telstar was massive, a massive hit. And there's a scene in the movie where he's at a Ouija board with some people, and they said, they ask it about Telstar, and the Ouija board actually says, number one. It's going to go number one, Joe. Number one. Oh, it's a great movie.
It's so funny. It's like I figure, first half of the show we'll talk about Concrete Blonde, talk about music, yada yada yada, and we've been talking about ghosts for the past 20 minutes, and I like it. I love it. You know, and
man, it's just all one big wonderful world.
It is.
Right now.
It's
just great. Yeah, it's just a real comfortable falling together. You know, at this time, and you know, I have to say, I mean, just the fact that I'm still alive is kind of amazing. So, you know, that kind of puts me in a good mood.
Have you had near death stuff happen to you?
Oh, I should not be here. I mean, I definitely was not. There's a thing called Chinese mole reading. If you've ever heard of it, where Chinese can it's moles on your body. They can read them.
Holy shit!
It's fucking amazing. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, I know. And so I have one in the middle of my chest, and that means voraciousness. And so I'm all or nothing, and that's what makes me me. It's like I am all in. I will bleed on the floor for this, whether it's art, whether it's a person, whether it's anything. You know what I mean? And that's not a sustainable way to live. But it's it's been me, and my challenge has been stillness and balance, and that's just kind of like to calm myself down. That's been really, really hard. So it's just amazing that when I went to a Chinese acupuncturist a long time ago, and he just looked at this mole, and then he looked at me and he says, you can eat anything you want. He says, but just a little. He says, I eat anything I want, but just a little. And I know now, when I learned about it, that he was looking at the mole, and that meant voraciousness, which meant just like, I got to consume every fucking thing, you know what I mean? And burn it to the ground, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's just, yeah, and I can't do that anymore. It's just, I'd rather be around and kind of, pace myself so that I can get done what I want to get done. And that's a very serious thought process. That's a real kick in the ass. When you're like, at this point, it's all about how you want to go out.
Right.
Another conversation is, I mean, you want to go out like burn it to the ground, my Mick Farron, my awesome Mick Farron, who I miss terrifically, who was a legendary rock journalist, sci-fi author, the Pink Fairy singer, and just an amazing all-around historic dude. But just drop dead, kind of. That was it on stage, just gone. And then, he didn't die on stage, but it kind of, I think, on the way out. But that's not. That's not great. You can't do that gracefully these days because everybody's got cell phones and cameras and shit like that.
Right.
It's not just a legend. It's a bad photo on the cover that requires something. But even then, I mean, just all jokes aside, it's like I actually would rather be around. Okay, now the question is, why do you want to be around? So it becomes, or as anybody in Hollywood who knows Caesar at Caesar's Auto, there on Franklin and Gower, he's my man. Actually, amazingly musical dude, knows a whole lot about music, but also is just like Buddha. Yeah, Caesar's amazing, but he's like, the thing that you have to do is find what you like and do it every day. And
yeah,
that's it. That's all. Pretty simple.
That's the best advice you can give anybody. He's like, do what you want to do and do it every day. I mean, I usually just say,
you like to do,
I just usually say, live your life, have fun, and don't be a douche.
Don't be a douche is a good one. But the problem with that, Mr. Presley, is that a douche doesn't know what a douche is.
This is true. This is true. This is absolutely true.
You don't know he's a douche. What douche have you ever addressed? Hey, douche. And he said, hey, that's me he's talking to. No, it doesn't happen, man. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, but on the other hand, it's like you see people acting like a douche, and okay, I'm not going to act like that.
Or, God, I acted like that, and then and then then the hammer comes down, and you say, I've been a douche.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Yeah,
it's tough.
but
it's the first step.
You live and you learn. You live and you learn.
You live and you learn, whether you like it or not.
Exactly. At what age? At what age do you remember getting exposed to music?
Exposed to music was very young.
Yeah.
My mom liked the Broadway musicals, and because of that last name, we had Sinatra, and the Rat Pack was very big in my house. Sinatra, Perry Como, Dean Martin, all that. I knew all that shit, and all the Oklahoma and all the musicals and all that. So those records were on all the time. So it was very, a lot of that stuff. Gershwin. I was really into Gershwin. I had choreographed an entire ballet when I was 4 or 5 to Rhapsody in Blue, which to this day is absolutely just some kind of intergalactic piece of music that is just not of this world. It's just amazing. So really, really young, really young. And that was, the early 60s.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff on TV then. You had, I saw the Beatles when they were first on Ed Sullivan and that whole thing. And I didn't really care that much. I wasn't, I wasn't as affected. I was too young. It wasn't to me like, oh, this is changing. As a matter of fact, that's why my parents let me stay up late, because they were young, So they were like, the Beatles, this is a big deal. And I remember my dad's Rock Around the Clock, Bill Haley, 78s, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So they were young, they were young kids. And so when the Beatles came to the States, or they were on Ed Sullivan, a stage I've actually played on, which is kind of weird to contemplate many years later, the Hollywood Palace in Hollywood. And so at the Ed Sullivan show, and which is very haunted, by the way, super haunted. And my parents studied us, like my sister and I, like we were like, is this going to threaten our girls, kind of a thing? Is this like, are the girls going to, is this long-haired thing going to, I mean, culturally, we could tell by the way our parents acted that it was like, what are we doing up, and why are we watching this? So that was right. In retrospect, I've never really, thought back on it that way, but when I think about it now, that's exactly what was going on.
Yeah, and the reason I was curious is because, I remember when I was a kid, my mom brought me up with Elvis and the Beatles and Willie and the that old school outlaw country, but the day that my musical life changed was December 24th, 1976. I was 4 years old, and Kiss Destroyer was underneath the Christmas tree, and that changed my life. I mean, I was hooked.
Who gave you that for Christmas?
My mom.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It was.
How many people were so like Kiss just changed more lives than Bob Dylan. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I don't know what that is, but man, that's some power.
Kiss.
I don't know.
I was having this conversation with somebody last night at the Viper Room. Kiss is, you either love them or you hate them. There's no in between. They're like redheaded women. They're either really gorgeous or really not. There's like no in between.
Well, it's like no. Oh really? Oh boy, Ireland, are you listening? Ireland. Oh boy.
That's one of my comedy bits.
Yeah, but have you? So you've obviously pissed off redheaded women then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh boy.
Pretty much.
Oh,
yeah,
boy.
yeah. And that ginger rage, you got to be very, very careful.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. You're taking your life in your hands. Now you have to circle me back to what your question. The question was what I was going for is what do you? And my answer to that, sir, was but the little girls understand. You know what I mean? It's either that's that kind of thing. It's kind of like you. I think it was an age. I just think you had to be at a certain age, and that was it for Kiss. Yeah, I think it was a window of a demographic, really.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
As simple as that.
Well, I mean, to us, especially, I was 4 years old. They were superheroes to me. I mean, I remember literally. We put
a Kiss concert at 4 years old.
I didn't go to the show.
That would be a real formative thing. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, they were superheroes to me. But basically, what I was getting at is Kiss was that album. When I got that album, that changed my life, especially musically. That's why I started playing guitar. One of the three reasons. Actually, one of the two reasons. The other one was Back to the Future, the Johnny B. Good scene. That's the other reason I wanted to start playing guitar. Because I wanted to be Michael J. Fox. What do you remember musically? What changed your life musically at a young age?
What changed my life musically at a young age?
What kind of
very young? Okay, all right. Well, this is really interesting, and I think about this often, and it really kind of blows my mind. When I moved schools a lot before the sixth grade, I think I went to 4 or 5 elementary schools, and that was really rough. Changing schools is really rough at that age.
Yep.
It's hard. It's really hard to feel like you're in anywhere, and so you kind of learn to not to be. But I remember I was in the 6th grade. I believe it was the 6th grade, and I believe it was the 6th grade, and I think it was Riverside Drive Elementary School, or was some elementary school around there. And like I said, I don't really remember, but I remember them saying that chorus tryouts were on Wednesday. And if anybody who wanted to try out, the music teacher came into class and she said chorus tryouts were on Wednesday, and anybody who wanted to try out could come to her room after school and talk to her. And I sat there and I was so excited, and I just started to shake, And I just said, and I was not allowed to dick around after class. I had to go right out to where the parents were, my mom was waiting or whatever. And that bell rang, and I was standing in that doorway, and she looked up, she was grading some papers, and she said, well, how can I help you? And she said, yes. I said, yeah, I want to try out for chorus. And she said, oh, and she went over, she played a few notes on the piano, and I sang them back to her. And she said, okay, come. She said, you're a second soprano. And oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And Mom said, why are you late? And I said, I'm in the chorus. I tried it for the chorus. And, and when I think about that, that's cool. You know what I mean? That's really cool. Number one, that there's a chorus to join. And number two, that like a little kid kind of felt that drive to do that at that age, so it's kind of like, it's strange to look down, which is kind of Google Earth my life and go like, that little kid was kind of cool to fucking, get in there and do that, so that was really interesting. That was really something else. Also the motivation, really, really, so much was going on at home. It was never a peaceful place. And I think that there was so much inside, there was nowhere else to go with it. And I was music affected me more than anything else. I was often under, they had those big old stereos, that was like a piece of furniture, that was the thing that lifted up. And I could fit under there. I'd be under there hiding, so I could just disappear into the music and get away from whatever was going on at home, So that was always my safe space to go, and it still is, for better or worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you remember how old you were when you wrote your first song?
12.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's very strange. Do you?
No, I was saying, I think.
You remember what? Did you?
Yes.
Do you remember how?
Yes.
So
yes.
So you were how old? 4 years old.
I was 4 years old when Kiss.
I'm trying to keep in mind your timeline
right.
here.
So
you paint your face, and which one? Did you paint your face?
I was Ace Frehley, and I was Paul Stanley. But now I actually have an Ace Frehley tribute band.
Oh, you do?
I do, with members of Faster Pussycat and LA Guns. Yeah.
That sounds fun.
I wrote my first song. It was a parody. I believe I was in 4th grade. The Reflex by Duran Duran. I rewrote it about Hulk Hogan, called The Hulkster.
The Hulkster? The Reflex as the Hulkster.
Yep. A parody song. Yep.
That's complicated.
Hey, it was good in my mind.
I'm just saying that's like, I like that. I like it a lot, but I'll probably think about that now. Like,
right. There was Greg Valentine references in it. It was great. It was awesome for us wrestling geeks out there.
Very good. I like that. I can't believe that nobody did Kavanaugh to Van Halen's Panama.
Oh my God. See, there it is.
Why didn't anybody do that?
Why don't you do it?
So like, that's just that ship has sailed. But I mean, it would just, the shark. How do you say has jumped?
The shark has jumped. The shark has jumped the fawns. It is over. Oh my God!
How good is that?
It's classic.
You're welcome. Everybody's welcome to that.
Classic. Scotty Strickland is checking in from Canada. So what's up, Take off. He wants to know, is there any music these days that you listen to that you would say we gotta listen to?
You know what? I'll tell you what I love lately is Chilled Cow on YouTube, which is a study channel. It's just lo-fi beats, and it's just shit that you can put on and leave on and basically do anything. And I'm loving that lately. It just seems to be the right thing for the homestead around here.
There you go.
It's just awesome. Yeah, I'm just fucking loving it. There's a lot of channels like that. If you go to YouTube and go under the live section, it's like there's college study and all kinds of stuff. But Chilled Cow is my personal favorite. There's a little picture of a guy studying with a little cat in the window with a little tail moving back and forth. It's great. I like that. I'm really into that lo-fi stuff.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to take a short break, and coming out of the break, we will play a clip of your new song that came out last month that I just realized when I opened up iTunes and put your name in that I didn't know you came out with a song last month, and I love it. It's called Riding the Moon. So we're going to Riding the Moon.
That's on YouTube too.
It is on YouTube.
Check that video out. I'm entering that video into the South by Southwest video competition. The animator is amazing, and he's in New Zealand. Yeah, so I love that. Thank you for mentioning it.
Of course. So, and we're going to hear a clip of that after the break. But before we do go to the break, the first half of the show is brought to you by Beater Amplification. I am very proud to be their very first endorsed artist. They are hand-wired, hand-built tube amps, 100 watts of testicular fortitude. You pull 2 tubes and you got a 50. 3 channels. You can get that classic Metallica tone, that classic AC/DC tone, and then that classic clean Fender tone as well. These things are badass. Check them out. Beater Amplification. That's 2 E's. BEETER. BeaterAmplification.com. We'll be right back with Johnette Napolitano. Am I saying that right? Am I fucking it up?
I don't know. I'm Ukrainian. I don't know how to say.
Oh, very well. Very well. All right. We be right back.
RockstarLeatherworks.com is your home for badass rock and roll gear. Featuring 100% handmade leather bands, watches, cuffs, bracelets, and more, Rockstar Leatherworks has something for everybody. Whether you are going to the show or you are in it, you can find something to fit your needs. Choose from a variety of designs or create your own masterpiece. Their bands and watches are second to none. They also ship internationally. Who needs a stage to be a rock star? Check out RockstarLeatherworks.com.
Retro Arcade brings Minnesota and surrounding areas arcade games from the days gone by. All of those great games from pizza joints and arcades are available in cocktail units and custom machines. Dozens of favorites from your youth in one machine to complete your game room or man cave. Retro Arcade also sells and services your favorite pinball machines. Find them at facebook.com/80arcade. That's facebook.com/80arcade. Retro Arcade. Your youth is just one click away.
If you need to promote your band or business, or just want to stylize, personalize, or customize your ride, check out vid-decals.com. Want to create and customize your own stickers representing your band, or make your own bumper sticker? Vid Decals can do it. All stickers are printed on quality vinyl and can be placed on any flat surface. Stickers are an affordable way to promote your band or business. Go to vid-decals.com to get started. That's vid-decals.com. vid-decals.com.
You and I were twin fins, and if it takes forever, then that's what I'll do. Forever in a moment, forever in a second. You and me will forever be riding the moon, riding the moon.
There's a clip of Riding the Moon, the brand new one from Johnette Napolitano that came out last month, and it's very, very cool. Go buy that. And that's
if you can get it on Apple Music, but it's actually released just to radio in New Zealand because I've never been there.
Oh, wow.
The animator to the videos in New Zealand, and you got some shredders listening, I'm sure. And the guitar on this track is is by one Benjamin Woods, who I met when I was looking. I've been studying flamenco for many, many years.
I know Ben Woods. I did it.
See, there's no way that you don't know Ben Woods.
I did it actually. I did a gig with Ben Woods on the on the Moody Blues Cruise. Now listen to this. My band was Ben Woods. Because he's got this flamenco band called Heavy Mellow where they do the metal songs.
Heavy Mellow.
Yeah, they're amazing. The other guitar player, Luis Villegas, who actually has a Concrete Blonde connection, his lawyer was your guitar player's wife's something. It was something in there.
Oh, boy.
And yeah. And then their drummer, their percussionist, Mike Bennett, who also plays with Richie Kotzen, who's probably my favorite artist of all time. and Frank Hannon from Tesla as my lead guitar player. We did the Elvis 68 comeback black leather sit down show on the Moody Blues Cruise.
Oh, wow.
That was my fucking band.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
anyways,
really cool.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just had to say we have a connection.
Right.
Anyways, yes.
Anyway, Ben Woods. So you know Ben.
I know Ben. Yeah.
How good he is.
Oh,
I met
amazing.
Ben when I was looking through. I was just Googling some flamenco shit one night years ago, and I came across Flametal, this band that fused flamenco and metal, and I fucking lost my mind because to me that makes total sense.
Right.
Total sense. And there's a lot of flamenco fusion. I'm a purist when it comes to flamenco, pretty much, and people they fuse it, and it gets fused a lot of times with South American kind of rhythms and things like that. And Ben is here's this dude with this band called Flametal, and Ben's from Seattle originally, but he was in San Francisco. Flametal's out of San Francisco, and he's got these dope ass players and these chicks, like some of the best chicks dancers.
Right.
And his chick Arlene Hurtado, they kind of got together at a show I booked for Metal, because when I found out they existed, I hit Ben up immediately. He had no idea who Concrete Blonde was or anything, and I'm just like, dude, all he knew was we were talking flamenco, so there were mutual names in that sort of circle and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, dude, I will book you. I will find a gig for you in L.A. and Hollywood, but I must see this live. Absolutely have to see this. And I don't care. I'm not a big I got to go to shows. I haven't done that in a very but I did and did get in the show, and they did play, and I've never seen. I mean, it was just mind blowing because he's a mind blowing guitarist, and the flamenco and the metal just kind of like, he's an odd bird in the flamenco world, and kind of an odd bird. He's just one of a kind, really, and he just played on a version of the Godfather theme for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's so crazy. It's so amazing. It's just so amazing. And I've always wanted to record the Godfather theme. That was before I knew I was Ukrainian from 23 and so I did it. And the chorus is beautiful, and the vocals actually do sound rather Ukrainian. And I've got to say, I love you, Ukraine, my people. But they have the most dismal national anthem that you could ever possibly hear in your life. It's just totally dismal. But Ben just came in the studio and just like, I've got a couple shots of him actually on my Instagram feed, and I've got a little clip of him warming up in the studio, and just like at Ready Mix in North Hollywood, which is a great little studio, and Paul, the engineer, who's a great engineer too, and he's just smiling ear to ear when Ben just starts. Like, he sits there and he stares for a minute at the speaker, and then all of a sudden he just like rips into it. It's like, oh my God, it just takes it up a whole other level. So it's Ben is anyway. He's on that single, as is a real gypsy, Jesus Montoya, who's a very famous flamenco singer, who Ben plays with in that, in the flamenco world end of things, and his girlfriend Arlene's a dancer, and so I'm telling you, man, and we've done a few shows together, Ben and I, when I do my solo shows, and Ben's been there a couple of times, and it's just great because he's a musician's musician. He's got a couple guitars, by the way, also the Ben Woods models, Cordoba, and now there's a Spanish one too, and I can never remember the name, and I feel bad, but he's a monster. He's just a beast,
He's
and
amazing.
He just never he cranks out shit, and he's just like genius, heavy mellow. I mean, come on.
Well, it's funny, right? I mean, it's funny because we were in a music store. We were at a Guitar Center in Miami. We were between, because I do like the Monsters of Rock cruise, I do Cruise of the Edge, I do the Moody Blues cruise, and all the cruises that are put on by that company. And Heavy Mellow is usually on all of those. And we went to a Guitar Center in Miami, and they had they didn't have one of his guitars, but there was a guy in the acoustic room who recognized him. And so him and Ben were bullshitting for like an hour while we're waiting to get out of there. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Oh yeah, he could go deep.
Oh, I know. Got a couple more people checking in. Harold says, "Holy mackerel." Okay. Bruce says, "Bass playing chicks are the coolest."
Oh, Well, I'd have to say something like that. It's yeah, they're pretty cool. I think generally that's a broad brush, obviously.
Right. I was always curious about this. There was a time in Concrete Blonde where you were not playing bass. Was that your guys'?
I never played bass. The only reason I played bass is because we couldn't get a bass player to stay in the band. We had no following. We had no deal. We were not cool by any stretch of the imagination, and we just couldn't keep a bass player. And then the police were just happening. They had just started happening. And I just figured, well, I mean, realistically, it's just good to keep in your mind as a human being that everybody's a human being and basically has the same equipment. And if that guy's doing it, I should be able to do it. And just sat down. To this day, I don't know what notes I'm playing as I play, but I can write. I don't.
I love it.
And I played with a musician who did exactly that and laughed at me for that. And I'm just like, I don't know, and I don't care because I can write what I want to play. And mind you, I have to learn some of the stuff that comes out of my head. I have to, learn firing chords. What is this? But I know root notes and everything. But it is true. I just, my mind just doesn't work that way. But we needed a bass player, and it wasn't rocket science. And frankly, as a matter of fact, okay, so I started playing bass, and then we started, to happen. And I was never secure about my musicianship. Mankey was a really great musician, and we've always had good drummers, But I felt like my ability as a bass player wasn't up to that, and I was really insecure when we got going. And I figured, well, and not only that, we got a lot of shit from people. It's just like, shouldn't there be 4 of you? Well, I'm doing the job of 2 people. Right. So for a little while, we had a bass player, and it definitely tipped us over an edge into mediocrity. I felt, frankly, I just feel like you're playing all over the place. It's an advantage to not overplay. I remember when the Go-Go's started. The Go-Go's knew one fucking song, but it didn't matter because they just wrote shit they could play. Right. So it was coming. I wasn't, I was well aware of musicianship. I worked for Leon Russell. I know what that is. But being on the outside as far as the music business goes, which is a very white male rock and roll. The chicks could be backup singers or Joni Mitchell or a nice sort of thing, but it wasn't. You had Fanny, who was the first all-girl band who came out in the late 70s, and it didn't start happening for women until after that, when I was really young. When I was young, so it was something that really punk enabled you to do. It wasn't even about, obviously, it wasn't about the music. It was just about the fact that everybody and anybody could jump in and do it, what they wanted. And and in LA, there was a lot of literary influence, and there was a lot of art influence as well. So it was extremely creative, and nobody could tell you not to do it. So there. So it was just like I started playing bass. What the fuck? And it was fun, I didn't feel like an idiot, I didn't feel like a stupid chick singer, which isn't what I really was. And
no, not at all. It's funny. It's funny. My favorite bass player joke is, you play the bass, you couldn't figure out how to run the lights.
How to what?
You couldn't figure out how to run the lights.
I thought you said how to run a light. That's a good one. Now, that's
thank
funny
you.
You mentioned that.
Why were you running lights while you were singing?
That's funny that you mentioned that. I just actually had to research Danny Montgomery, who is a drummer. He was in Pretty and Twisted with me, and he actually was just here and played Crib Girls, is another one of a single that I did last year at this time. And I did out here in the desert, and he was out here in why did I bring that up? Shoot, I took a musician joke.
Yes.
He plays a lot. He lives in Paris, and he's between Spain, but he's between Paris and Spain a lot. And as a matter of fact, that's where we met over there before Pretty and Twisted. But he's like the guy. A lot of R&B tours, when people go over to tour Europe, he's like the drummer that picks up and kind of goes and does all that sort of stuff. And he knows every fucking musician joke that ever has existed. And it's just crazy. Number one, it just makes me crazy because you can remember them all. It just blows my mind. So somebody had told me a musician joke the other day, and I'd email it to him, and he came back with like, where do you want me to start? I know so many, and I go, I know. So it became this challenge, like a couple days ago, to go online and find as many musician jokes as I possibly could. But let me tell you, and then it gets into where I had a dinner one night, I think it was Thanksgiving, with an old mentor of mine in New Orleans and members of the New Orleans Philharmonic, okay? And they had more bad jokes about rock and roll, like hey, what if, how come, you saw, crazy shit, like, if they lined up every electric guitar end to end around the world, what would happen? Nothing. Nobody would care. Just
right.
Yeah. It was just such a fucking there's such a pecking order. It's just really, really weird. But yeah, I'm a fan of musician jokes, drummer jokes. The drummers get all the really bad ones.
Yeah, it's usually what
they
has
get no respect whatsoever.
Yeah, what has two arms and two legs and can't feed a family? A drummer,
Oh. See, now I want to remember one, or why does the drummer need to be on a riser or something? What's that one?
Why the riser has to be flat so the drool comes out both sides of the mouth?
Both sides equally, or something,
both sides
like
equally,
that.
yeah.
How long? What you do?
How long have you been out in Joshua Tree?
Over, I guess, about 12 years, 13 years, maybe.
Okay,
a while.
I thought I saw something that you were like thinking about moving to Mexico, or you lived in New Mexico. Or...
I did, yeah. I had a place in Mexico for a long time.
Okay.
And and I was on and off there for quite a while. I prematurely retired 3 or 4 times.
Right.
And so, but yeah, I got a lot of painting done down there, and I love it down there. Absolutely amazing. I love it down there. Painted a lot. But that was before phones.
Right.
That's why it was cool, because there was no internet and there was no phones. And, there was, I had a tank with water, and you had to have your shit together and enough gas to go and ask the guy to come and put water in your tank. You had to have all that shit down before you left, because there's no phone. You're on your own. And I loved it, and it was cool. It was near the ocean down there, south of Ensenada.
Nice.
And it was a really, really nice time. I really liked it down there.
You said you did a lot of painting. Did you at least paint one Velvet Elvis?
No, but I did buy, and I should get it because it's still down there. I bought a black velvet Jimi Hendrix in Tijuana.
Oh, wow.
That is so fucking cool. Yeah, it was really cool. And, it was really cool. And I had on the wall my little old man, Martin, who was the landowner around there, and he used to come around and do stuff around. He came in and he looked at it and he went, "Oh, muy negro."
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's fucking great.
Yeah, it was pretty classic, and it was pretty damn funny.
Bruce is checking.
So, yeah, I did have that. So I do have that. Now you make me really want that. As a matter of fact, I did used to collect black velvet paintings, and I actually I gave them to an old agent of mine because I just would get stuff and purge and just hoard. I went through that hoarding kind of thing.
Yeah.
I got in my house. It's like a flea market, and out here it's I can't really do that. There's too many critters to hide. And
I suppose. Bruce is checking in with another drummer joke. What do you call a drummer with no girlfriend? Homeless. Yep.
I thought that was a guitar player joke. In all fairness to drummers, I know that joke is a guitar player joke. You can decide amongst yourselves.
I think that is just a musician joke in general.
Yeah, maybe that's probably true.
And so you're okay. So you're out there. You have a recording studio out there. Is it like
here's one. Here's one.
Yes. All right, go for it.
What's the difference between a pit bull and a chick singer?
Tell me.
Lipstick. And it's actually not a chick singer. It's actually a female opera singer. But I don't know any female opera singer.
There you go.
So
there you go.
All right.
Okay. So your studio out there, is that like a working studio where you bring people in, or is that just kind of your little homage?
I recorded a bunch of stuff out here, and I wouldn't, it's basically a lot of different controllable spaces that I can record in. Which
Okay.
is what a studio is. It's not, it hasn't got a big control room or anything like that because it's just not appropriate out here.
Right.
The way the weather changes and things like that, you really got to be able to have different controllable spaces. Like where I am right now, which is my main cabin, I have a brick floor and I have shutters. So I can be completely quiet here. I can close another door in the other half of the cabin, and I have the barn out there, which is a more open space for probably drums, and I can, do anything I want to shape the sound out there if I want. And, so it's just, like anything else, the song dictates what you're going to do.
Right.
I just had Gabriel in Ready Mix last Saturday night, on my birthday, actually, the 22nd. I was having to put drums on some stuff that I had recorded out here. And Gabriel's been Concrete Blonde's drummer for a long time now, and Maria Fatale, and he's really great. And so we were talking about when we were recording a Cherokee once, and we were recording. I booked timpanis, which were luxury. Timpanis are awesome and they're really expensive, but they're amazing. So I had money at the time. I'm like, let's see if I can get some timpanis, and I love Cherokee, and love to spend the day just like doing shit. And so they had switched. They gave me a really good rate there, but if they got a richer client in, then I'd get bumped to another room, which is what happened. So I had the timpanis booked, and the big room got booked for a commercial or something, and I got bumped to the back room, which is a small room, and absolutely not at all appropriate for timpanis. So I had them open the side door, and we put the timpanis out in the parking lot and just ran the lines out into the parking lot. And Gabriel was out there, he had a glass of wine in one hand and his mallet in the other, and we cut the timpanis out in the parking lot, and not one car drove up Fairfax.
Wow.
The entire case. Wow. Not one. And that was the thing that we were just like, well, whatever. They told everybody the parking lot. So it's like, Susan calls on that. She calls and says, Roy Baker wants to come in and say hi and see what you're doing. Roy Thomas Baker had been in the next room, and I'm a big Roy Baker fan, in a big way. And so, how can you not be? The man is responsible for some of the greatest. For those who don't know who Roy Thomas Baker is, he produced little things like Bohemian Rhapsody and the Cars Panorama and shit like that. He's just a brilliant.
What do you think
producer.
of? What do you think of the industry now? I was kind of curious about that.
I don't know. Well, from my perspective, it's just flux. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like still seeking its own level. As far as just consolidating and what you can do with technology and figuring out streams, and then somebody consolidates again, or somebody ups the platform and changes everything again, and it's really hard to keep abreast of everything. But if like I say, for me, I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it, because the model for me is the way I've been working for a long time, for like at least the last 10 years, is that 1,000 actual physical units, and collectors will always want to buy those, and it always has me wanting to make music, and then it goes to digital anyway. So for me, my number one concern is my health, mentally, spiritually, and physically. But because I want to be inspired, if I'm stop, death to me will be not wanting to make music anymore. Then I'll be dead, because that's what I've done ever since I can remember. And if I don't want to do that anymore, then I just might as well not be there. But I don't want to just grind out because I feel like I should be doing it. I want to feel the way I felt when I just love the rush of creating something out of the air. I just think it's magic every fucking time.
Right.
And so, I want to keep doing that. And there's an impetus. And sometimes I'm actually inspired by the hardware. A lot of musicians that I know will be like, wow, I bought a new guitar and it inspired me and I wrote something cool. It was a fresh take or something like that. Actually, a program can do that for me, or a platform can do that for me. I just started a podcast, my poor agent. I'm sorry, Bruce Solar. My poor agent Bruce, who told me to do a fucking podcast like a fucking 2 years ago or something. I'm like, I don't want to do a podcast. And so I just started doing a podcast in the morning. Yeah, well, I needed a jumping off point. I needed it to fit. Fit. I don't really like, this is a rare exception, as you know. You've been after me for a year. I don't like to talk about myself, rock and roll.
I know.
Necessarily music and stuff like that. It's just like whatever. But I needed a jumping off point, and I felt that this was something more nourishing. And this is something that I do every day. I do a tarot meditation every morning because it focuses my mind. It's not an anxiety. I was amazed to read that Picasso woke up every morning with heavy anxiety, like heavy depression and heavy anxiety.
Yeah.
Picasso, but by lunch he was fine. And I'm like, and for years that was my state of being, just anxiety. Wow. And the road doesn't help because I open my eyes the next morning, I'd be in a hotel, and the first thing I do is go, do I have a voice? It's just like being a perpetual state of being nervous for years and years on end. It's just PTSD shit,
Yeah.
But so I'm no stranger to that either.
Well, and actually, that's one of the things I did want to bring up because it's called Coffee and a Card, and it's almost every day. Is it every day? And it's like short. It's like 3 minutes long.
Sure. It's just like I write it for WordPress. I've been doing it in the morning as a blog on WordPress for a long time.
Okay.
And then I got into it, and now WordPress feeds out to Facebook and feeds out to this and feeds out to that, and I'm looking through and seeing, getting to know what things do, and I'm kind of digging it, and this is cool. The thing that I like about it is it's like, it's been a long time, like the people, and I also read under another name on a psychic line. I do that off and on for years.
Really?
And so for years, I worked the psychic line Y2K. And people were like, I had a list of suicide prevention. Like, we were all like marshaled up, man, for suicide prevention. Yeah, that was the biggest concern on Y2K because people had given away everything they had, and they're all broken. And it's like, so I do that anyway, But I just so I kind of cross-pollinated my life into, and it really feels great because it feels like everything's kind of come together at this age, which is I'm just really happy because I'm not fragmented anymore. And the tarot people, because I get respect as a reader, and I'm more interested in the tarot as psychology, as a tool for psychology, and which it is. There's a lot of doctors that are very. As a matter of fact, I actually read for a psychology teacher that came down, and I'm very interested in that, which is a very strong movement. So that's where I'm coming from with it. And actually, and a reader, I know I have respect as a reader, and so when the readers discover I do music, they can go and discover it and dig that or not. And the fans, and a lot of them don't. Man, I've been flamed hard by some holy rollers, that I don't know what you think. I don't know what you want, but man, there's some people that are crazy and they don't dig it at all. So it's like, then go your merry way. It's fine, but this is something that is really I can't not do. I mean, this is and by the way, this is nothing that, I mean, it's a normal part of all of us.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're all psychic. We all have the instinct. We're just, brainwashed into thinking that we don't, So, but for me, it's kind of come together in a really wonderful way, especially because that's where a lot of the music comes from, Yeah. I mean, a lot of artists, Keith Richards, he says, it's in the air, man. All you got to do is grab it. Something like that.
Keith Richards rules.
At least that's where I come from.
Did you see his documentary?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I fucking loved it. He still gets up and smokes a cigarette really and drinks his fucking whiskey, and he's Keith Richards. That's it.
Yeah, I know. Keith.
That's what I loved about Lemmy. It was the same thing. I mean, Lem was Lem. Did you ever have any experiences with Lemmy? I mean, you were in Hollywood for a long time. Obviously, I'm sure you hung out at the Rainbow every once in a while.
It wasn't from Hollywood. I'm not sure whether I should even say it actually, but what the hell? We had a tour manager for a very long time who tour managed Motorhead for a very long time in England since this person was a teenager, and so tour managed Motorhead for a very long time. And I went up to Lemmy. It was a New Year's Eve, and we played with the Stray Cats in Australia. The only band that I would not follow. I would not follow the Stray Cats. It was for 2 days of the festival. We were supposed to headline one night, and they were headlining one night, and I saw them and I go, "Fuck, please don't make me play after you guys." And they were the best band ever. They were so cool. So I came back to see them. You know, they played New Year's Eve in Hollywood, and came to see him, and Lemmy was there, and I went up to Lemmy and I said, "Hey, Lemmy," you know, it was one of those things you're in a club and I'm kind of loving it. I said, "Hey," I go, "so and so was my tour manager," and he looked down and he said, "So what?" And I said, "Oh," I said, "By the way, by the way, you got to be really careful who you say you work for because this shit like this happens." But
right.
He goes, "Well, so what?" So I obviously that wasn't the vibe, and I go, "Well," I said, "Can I buy you a drink?" And he goes, "No." And I go, "Can I say I bought you one?" And he goes, "Yeah."
That is awesome.
I know. And then later on, I found that some money had gone missing on a tour, and he accused his tour manager of stealing it, and that's what went down. And I wasn't aware of any of that. So,
gotcha.
So I didn't know. But he's really good friends, or he was really good friends with my with a friend of mine, Lee Kaufman from Trauma. Pictures. He was really, really good friends with Lemmy, and and I've definitely Lloyd's a pretty fucking special dude himself. Love you, Lloyd. If you're listening.
I hope he is.
Follow me on Twitter. I know you saw it.
Yeah, very well. I know we're going over. Do you still have a little extra time, or do we got to cut this off?
No, carry on.
Fuck it. Let's just keep going. I feel like I could just sit down and talk to you for hours. You know, this is awesome. Well, I mean, obviously not tonight, but
I don't know how interesting it would be, but yeah. I waited long enough, that's for sure.
I'm freaking loving this. This is great, and I don't even know what the hell I was going to say.
Little kiss face.
Yes, the little kiss
little
face.
Makeup on.
I do have a picture of me from kindergarten dressed up as Paul Stanley.
That's so cute.
Yes.
Did you work at school?
I believe so. I remember I was in kindergarten in 1978 and 77, 78, right around that. Yeah, it would have been that time because I brought the Gene Simmons solo record to show and tell. And everybody else, I literally brought the Gene Simmons solo record. Yes.
That's amazing.
And I think one time I also brought the Grease soundtrack, and we were doing the Grease dance.
See, now that would have been more what I would have expected, but the Gene Simmons solo album, that's just like deep cuts like crazy. That's funny.
I know, it's awesome. I love it though. It's so out there that it's cool.
I know, exactly. That's fucking cool, man.
What do you love musically? What do you love musically that people would be surprised by?
Well, usually it's the flamenco.
Right.
And when we, took flamencos to open for us, people are always blown away at how powerful it is,
Yeah.
Gypsy stuff is pretty strong, and, you can see three gypsies sit in a corner in Spain, and, they would drown out a Marshall without a problem at all.
Yeah.
With no mics, but that, basically is probably what surprises people the most,
One thing I did want to ask you about, because the one time I saw Concrete Blonde in Minneapolis at the, oh my God, I can't remember what the name of that theater was. Well, it's not a theater. The Varsity. Yeah, the Varsity Theater.
That's a beautiful place.
It is. I was supposed
the bathroom. I took pictures of the bathroom in that place.
You remember
I'm just saying.
You remember the dressing room downstairs that had that big throne in it? It was like downstairs in the cave.
Yes. That's a beautiful place.
It is. It is. I was supposed to see you at First Avenue, but there was a blizzard, and because I lived maybe an hour, 45 minutes to an hour away from Minneapolis, so there was a blizzard that night, and I turned around and I'm like, I can't go, I can't, and then
no, but we had to play, didn't we?
Yes, you did. And I saw all my friends.
I was just thinking that I don't think of First Ave without thinking of 2 feet of snow.
Right? I don't know. It's so weird. It's like all these bands, they come through in the wintertime. I remember seeing Big Head Todd there like 2 or 3 times, and it was always like January, and it was like 20 below zero. I'm like, why?
I know.
Why would you tour up here during then?
I don't fucking know. I don't know, man. I guess, we're breaking icicles off the bus. They're like 2 feet long. It's insane. I mean, it's really crazy. Yeah, but, you got to go when people are spending money, I guess. There's school, there's all kinds of factors involved with shit.
And the other thing, up there in the summertime, that's when people use the lakes, they use the cabins, and a lot of people get out of town. Up there.
They do, and that's festival season.
Yeah,
festival
season as well.
If you're not on festival season, I like clubs. I was always more of a, I need some lighting, and I did festivals when you go on at noon, and in Germany and shit like that. It's just like I just don't need to see daylight, really.
Right.
If, that's the vibe. I just prefer the control of the room.
So basically where I was going with this, I mean, you talked about cell phones and the video and all this stuff, but the thing that I remember about that show at the Varsity, you specifically said on the mic, like, one song in, if anybody is filming this on their cell phone, I'm going to come down there and kick it out of your hand or something like that. Something to that effect. But you were really at the forefront of people. Now you hear people saying, it's like, yeah, please don't film it, yada, yada, yada. But you were like really at the forefront of that.
Well, it's disturbing on a lot of levels. You can ask, artists. That bothers a lot of artists, but it bothers artists for different reasons.
Right.
The flash will definitely make me lose my place, in a song, So I sing with my eyes closed all the time, and people wonder why. Well, it's because I don't want to look down and see you doing some dumb shit. And if you're texting, you're missing it, but you're also disturbing the person behind you by holding your thing up. And it is about content, and it is about the fact that it's not my job, and nor should the audience care how I get paid or not. But you're posting songs that I haven't been paid for in 20 years. I just went and took 8 YouTube videos down about 3 weeks ago. Every once in a while, I got to go through and just knock them out. And, and it's not their fault, and it is very clearly posted. Don't do it. But my particular reason is because I haven't been paid for this shit for a very long time, and I'm trying to build up a body of work that is mine, that is clear, that now that YouTube is settled, some of this shit is monetized and starting to get organized. It's my responsibility to live up to the body of work that I don't have any control of, and that I haven't been paid for in a long time, and that I'm not in the mood to promote. And if somebody else, and YouTube keeps moving the bar anyway, paying you up at a certain number and then moving it and making it higher, whatever.
Yeah.
And a certain amount of it is promotion, and I appreciate that. As a matter of fact, I had started Riding the Moon like 6 years ago, and I had a version that wasn't done yet, and it leaked out, or it got out, or I probably posted it or something, or a rehearsal or something, and somebody put it up, and it had like 6,000 views or something, and I hit up whoever it was, and I said, I'm working on this and doing an official version, and when the official version is done, it'd be cool if you would just take this down now and everything. And I couldn't find it the other day, so I assumed that they did that because I didn't want to. I appreciated the fact that it was there and people could hear the song, and that's why I pursued finishing and taking it to another level with the animation and all that, because it was a bucket list thing with me. I wanted to finish it, and I was encouraged because so many people liked it, and I wouldn't have known that if it hadn't been posted and I hadn't seen that 6,000 people liked it. So it's kind of an instinctive thing where, and then again, I've had people be complete assholes about it. Like, hey, this was really posted, and, you've got some high fucking quality HD shit here, and, we're not getting paid for this, I'm sorry, but you can't do this. And most people have actually been cool. Only a few people have been assholes, but it's just easier to just not do it. And now the artists are understanding themselves. A lot of artists didn't get it. Artists are nothing if not egotistical. And, yay, they're taking my picture, they're doing this, they've all busted out the cameras for the hit, whatever. And then, once you figure out how it actually works or see a couple shitty videos up there, that's another thing. I can't, have somebody see a crappy gig or see something that's not the best because, you won't get hired again, basically.
Right.
So here's the thing is, though, I don't fucking want to sit in front of a computer all day and be cop about my stuff. I I just grew a fuck to care and give about even getting online to fix all this stuff up myself, because if I don't, other people will.
Right.
And one of the reasons that I like doing the podcast and I'm talking to you is because I feel like, you know, there's a lot of interpretation. A lot of people project their shit onto you, and a lot of filters, publicists or whoever writes about you or whatever, you know, they're editing you as a human being, as a person. And I'm not going to be edited anymore. You know, I'd rather represent myself with my own voice and have people hearing it and seeing it, and, you know, than have people editing it in print and shit like that. I just don't really trust what I read much anymore, you know, on media or anywhere else. You know, it's just, and I don't like it. I'm just, you know, I'm 61 years old. You know what I mean? I know who I am, and nobody else does. And so, you know, that's how I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to go out without going out and having people, and, you know, or going out on my own terms, doing what I fucking want to do. You know, I've definitely, you know, been working a very long time. And I just feel like I'm about to do my best stuff. That's what Picasso said. You know, he regretted, the only reason he regretted aging was because he couldn't see well enough to paint what he had in his head. So health is important and all that sort of shit. But man, seriously, I have to check myself, because, you know, I could easily, you know, go on a wild bender to Vegas tomorrow if somebody hit me up at the right time. You know? But I have to remember that I'm not 30.
Right. Well, Johnette, if that happens, I expect a call from you saying, Izzy, get your ass up to Vegas. We're going on a fucking bender, because God damn it, I would join you. Because I haven't been to Vegas in a while. I need a good Vegas drunk.
Oh man, I'm telling you, and it's, you know, it's only 2.5 hours from me. So it's pretty easy to, you know, to blow out and blow back.
Well,
but
I can get up there in 4.
I'd rather, you know, I'm working on now. Like I need to get more. I need to leave behind as much work as I possibly can, and I intend to live a very long time to do it. And so it's awesome. It's fucking dope.
Bruce says, "Good for you. Real fans support by buying." Yes, I agree.
Thank you very much. That is true. That is true. I definitely agree with that. Sure.
Bruce also wanted to know, or actually, no, was it Harold? Let me check no, it was Bruce. Do you still do live gigs? Are you still out gigging every once in a while?
I do. Yeah, I do. That's another thing that's got to change, because I could sit here right now and they could tell me, like, hey, you know, we're going to put you out for a week. And right now it would sound like the thing I want to do more than anything else in the world. And 4 nights from now, I'd sit there at midnight somewhere and go like, oh my God, why did I say I was going to do this? It's killing me, you know. I haven't got the stamina, and I can't pretend that I do. And I don't, you know, I just be making a fool of myself if I pretended that I did. Mm-hmm. So my immediate plan now is I've got, you know, Riding the Moon is actually officially delivered to radio as a single in New Zealand, where I've never been, and I really love to go to New Zealand. I really want to go to New Zealand, and there's a nice hall there, and I'd love to be able to take Ben, and I'd love to be able to take Gabriel. You know, so it's, you know, I've got to hopefully have something on the radio that people can. Cause otherwise, if I don't do this, the only gigs that I get offered are like retro gigs, you know, or 80s package stuff, and I can't do that. That's just, you know, we weren't. The irony is, like, we were never cool then. You know what I mean? And now, you know, we get offered, you know, a spot with, you know, especially in Europe, you know, with 3 or 4 bands that we had absolutely nothing to do with back at the time. So. Mm-hmm. It's just nothing that I don't think is going to look good, and not look good on me. I don't want to throw up bass sweat, you know. I just don't really feel pretty doing it. You know what I mean?
Johnette,
not to say I can't kick some ass, but I just can't kick like 6 nights a week anymore.
Right, but Johnette, look, you've always been cool. You guys, Concrete Blonde is kind of like, you're like the alternative King's X, if that makes sense.
I love King's X.
Oh, I do too. Doug's been on the show. I think those are the shows that I've sent you, is when Doug has been on. But
they're really cool.
Oh, they're freaking amazing. But it's like you know, it's like a cult following. You know, it's a cult thing, and you guys had a huge hit. I mean, a big hit with Joey. but it still kind of is a cult band.
Well, it depends. And then to the street people in LA who hated us when we had a hit record, we sold out. So it really depends on who you ask.
Right.
But that circles around to another really important point, is that the way I live my life as an artist, I can support myself as an artist. I can support myself on putting my little 1,000 records out and everything else, and very, very well, when I'm leaning into it. But I just, you get in, just like anything else, you get out of it what you put into it. And I don't have to work as hard as I did 20 years ago, whatever. But I also don't need 3 cars. I don't need, what a lot of people need. Everything, a lot of things that you think you need, you got to have. And, for whatever reason, or, when I think about the money that I spent back in the day, we were really touring and really low money. Well, I was supporting, I had a lot of people on my back. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, who are all these people? And I can live a very comfortable life myself and stay stimulated and stay engaged and have a good, still, run around and go up to the lake and run around and ghost hunt and all kinds of shit that I like to do, and have a really creative life. I don't have kids, you know what I mean? And don't let them, I don't want them to hear me say that. They're all asleep. They're all sleeping. They're all asleep right now, which is nice. Mommy likes it. Mommy likes it when they're all asleep. She loves it when they're all asleep.
Look,
so I have a life that I can maintain.
Yeah.
I can take risk if I want. I've got my thing down. I've got, and that goes to the audience. That addresses the point of the audience. Yeah, you have a hit, and so, you have to do a certain amount of work, and to keep your head in the game if that's where you want to be. But I just think the possibilities now are just more than they've ever been, because you can reach people that you couldn't reach before.
Right.
I mean, how can it not be easier for an artist, to
Right.
except the artists they don't like to work is the problem. You got to really do, you got to really kind of work.
You got to hustle. You got to hustle.
I mean, we all love to sit around and drink beer and plan our next chord change, but you actually have to.
That's actually what I'm going to be doing after this. But hey, as long as you're going to be making enough money to take care of those rescue horses, you're good.
My horsey, she's only one now, thank Christ.
Oh, you only have one?
Yeah.
You only have one?
Paris Horsington. Yeah, I had 3 at one point, and
okay.
The one old one, she got old, and that was a drag, but that was going to happen, that
right,
was going to happen. Yeah. And then I took, the third was actually kind of foisted on me, and I kind of was intimidated into taking it, and I just didn't say no, and I shouldn't have. And the third horse, a beautiful little Appaloosa, but I just couldn't handle 3 horses. I was like, so exhausted. I'd be passing out at 5 p.m, and just really financially and everything else, I couldn't do it. So I had to give the Appy back. And now I've got originally what I originally wanted, which was True, who is the blue-eyed, white, pink-assed. Oh my God, dude! And I had the thank you to Joshua Tree Glass for coming by today to measure my window that True scratched her ass on and shattered like fuck. A double pane window. It sounded like you can hear it all the way to goddamn Tucson. It sounded like somebody drove a truck through my front window. Double pane smart glass, bitch. And,
oh my God.
I know. I have shutters, and I usually put shutter on one half. It's a big window, big sliding, and I put shutters on. The shutter closes on one half, and then the one half slides open so she can stick her head in at night, sleep with us if she wants to. And she does. And so I didn't close the shutter. So, oh my God. So it's like 2 a.m, and I mean, oh my God. It sounded like a helicopter crashed through the glass, and I was freaked out. And I went running and looking for her because I was scared, like that she was cut up, And she was fine. She was way off on the property somewhere, and I found her. And she was fine. She was just afraid she'd done something wrong,
Right.
She'd broken something, So she was okay, but thank God, because man, there was the glass was insane, and so I froze my ass off last night, and I'm gonna do it again tonight.
That sucks. All right, so we got one more comment that I'm just gonna ask you one more thing. Then we'll because I don't want to keep you all night, and I feel bad about keeping you this long.
You.
But
Okay.
Bruce says one of the only things I like about getting older is you don't give a shit what people think as much. Love Johnette's
That's
spunk
amazing.
and attitude for life.
Oh, thank you. And that is true. I actually was just on with somebody earlier, and I just said that. I'm just like, now I get it. I just like now when you see old people and they're all happy and they haven't a fuck left to give. That's exactly like what it is. And here's a weird part of it. You realize that they don't give a fuck about you either, and that's a weird flip. You're just like, all of a sudden, I'm in the demographic that does not fucking matter, and it's very freeing. You're like, I don't have to compete anymore. I don't have to fucking do the hustle anymore, because right away they do not care. You're 60 years old. You are out of here. And so now it's about redefining your generation and what that means here. And it's been really scary because people are dropping dead in their 30s and 20s and 50s. What the fuck's going on? So it's just like, how do we deal, with this? And it's just like, I basically, in my farrier's grade, I have a great farrier. I call him a heavy metal farrier because he is. He's totally into metal. As he's working with metal, he talks about metal, which is really cool. And so he goes, I think it's immaturity. I think that's the secret. And I'm like, you're exactly right. It's fucking immaturity. And to a certain degree it is. Nobody told me I have to get old, so what's the point of doing it? Right. As long as I care about my health, that's the only thing. And I know, and I don't want to feel like shit anymore. I want to do what I like to do, and that takes a certain amount of energy. So the things that you give priority, if you only have 4 good hours in the day, you can really go out and max them out. Mm-hmm. It better be something that you really fucking love doing.
Exactly.
What I mean? So that cuts a lot of bullshit out. And you start looking at a lot of people going like, why am I with you again? Why am I actually waiting? I'll never get this hour of my life back, watching your mouth move, listening to you say something I get not one shit what it is. So it's fucking great, man. Especially for us. It's like, because we know not to be old people.
Right.
Just older kids or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maturity, that's a whole different thing.
Maturity? What's maturity? I have no idea.
There's somebody named Izzy Presley about. I'm just saying.
Oh, I fucking love it. All right.
God bless you, Izzy Presley.
Thank you.
My ginger-haired little booba.
That's right. I'm blushing right now. Because I'm ginger. We blush easily.
I know, right?
Right? So I did want to ask you, I can't believe that we've done almost an hour and a half and we've hardly talked. Can you believe that we've done an hour and a half and we haven't hardly talked about Concrete Blonde at all? I mean, that's got to be pretty impressive. It's got to be pretty impressive. Yeah. I'm going to pat myself on the back for that. But
yes, I will too.
Do you have a song that you think either defines you or is the favorite thing that you've done?
A favorite thing that I've done?
Yeah.
There's things that I'm proud of. There's one thing that I'm really, really proud of, and that I recorded here, and that was a thing for an Australian film called Candy with Heath Ledger and Michelle, I believe, and it's for a wedding scene. The book was a bestseller in Australia, and they made the film, and they had done the wedding scene had a Velvet Underground song in it, and for the life of me, I can't remember which one, but they had wanted me to cover it because they couldn't afford the master or something, and so I was set to do that here at home, and then they couldn't clear the track at all. They couldn't even use it. So at the last minute, and literally there were 2 days, and they're a day ahead, right? And it was a weekend here, so I had 2 days to write something for the scene and get it to them. And at the time, I mean, I haven't had decent internet out here either until last year. So that was another reason that I've kind of whatever, there's other things to do in life. I'll wait till they get the shit figured out here. Sure enough, they did. But anyway, so I did, and I happened to have the thing that really clinched it was that, you know, I knew because I worked, you know, in movies and all that with my day job. My last day job was a movie thing. And so I do know that when directors use temp tracks, you know, when they're making the movie and they hope they can get this David Bowie song, so the rhythm of their shot is to the David Bowie song or whatever, and then they can't get it, and then you're fucked because you had a certain mood that you went for or whatever. So I know that they get married. They really love those temp tracks. And so he couldn't get it, so it was kind of an emergency. And so the first thing I did was beat map the Velvet song and just get the tempo because I knew that's what he was used to. And I happened to have, as a matter of fact, it's the only electric guitar that I've kept. And I used to have a lot of guitars. I went through that phase. But I've got the Silvertone, the single lipstick pickup Silvertone in the case with the amp that Lou Reed had in the Velvet Underground. So I was already there, you know what I mean, as far as just the mood and tone and beat. And so I wrote what I wrote to the wedding scene, and they absolutely lost their minds. They called me up and, it's a bit of a genius there. You know, I was really happy.
What are they like in the 40s? In the 40s, yeah, in the 40s and 50s films? You never catch me, copper. You see?
Well, it's an Australian thing. That was meant to be a little bit of Australian. That's the way he sounded over the phone that far away. They're like, genius. And I was really pleased. I was really happy because, you know, I'd recorded it myself. I'd written it at the last minute, and, you know, it's really good in the scene too. It's really a kind of a bittersweet kind of a thing. But yeah, fuck man, I'm still proud of that. I thought that was cool because I like the challenge of that. Like, wow. And that was a big one. You know what I mean? That was a big one. So, you know, just on every level, you know, delivering logistically and technically and everything else. And I never got dressed in 3 days. I think I drank a case of wine.
Nice.
Smoked so much more weed than God.
I'm going to come up to Joshua Tree. I'm going to come up to Joshua Tree and we're going to get high. That's just all there is to it. I just said get high. That's it.
Problem.
That's it. Just get high.
Yeah, well, you know, that would be that you can do, like, you know, that's called, I call it a Dutch breakfast, a cup of coffee,
exactly,
a little bit of weed, and you're good to go. And by the way, my doctor, God bless her, I love her, but tried to put me on blood pressure meds a year ago or a couple of years ago, and I wouldn't take them. My insurance, my lovely insurance, SAG-AFTRA people. Now, and keep in mind, after the American Federation of Radio and Television Artists, right? They wouldn't pay for the meds, for the blood pressure meds. I didn't want to take meds anyway, so I already knew that I had to change a bunch of shit. So they wouldn't pay for the ones that my doctor wanted to give me. She'd give me a couple samples. But they would pay for the ones that had the side effect of possible throat trauma.
Of course.
I'm like, who's in charge here? So anyway, so I wouldn't take the meds, but I went to the doctor. She's in LA, went back and forth here, and all of a sudden she looks around and she goes, your blood pressure's perfect. And it had been perfect for a couple of months now, you know. So she goes, so those meds are working out? And I said, no, doctor, legal marijuana. And it blew her mind, and she had to write it in the chart. She had her pen right above the chart, and she looked around and she goes, really? And I go, yeah. So we've been, I've been schooling her on the strains. Awesome. The fuck cancer strain is big up here in the Bay.
Well,
so it's all good.
You know what also helps cancer? Getting off of sugars and grains. Cancer feeds on sugar.
If I could tell people to do one thing, it's go gluten-free. I honestly feel like, especially women, and it's a really hard thing to diagnose in women because the symptoms are so, and probably in anybody, but in women especially, because it screws with you hard. It screws with your hormones. And I feel like I've been cheated out of like 20 years of my life not knowing about that and what it does to your body. And of course, being raised as Italian when I did not know, I had pasta and pizza and all that sort of shit. So that's all I ate all my life. And
I know.
Whack job.
It's so delicious, though. That's the problem. It's so good.
You can do so much cool gluten-free shit now.
Yeah, I know.
There's no excuse to not be. And the difference in everything from your I mean, like 15, 20 years ago, I was taking glucosamine for my joints, for my knees, you know, and shit.
Yep.
And it's like gluten free. I haven't touched anything at all. I mean, I'm like, it's just ridiculous. It's just like night and day. It's amazing.
That's the
Everybody
thing.
should stop eating bread now.
That's the thing. Is sugars and grains,
Sugar,
grains is the same thing. Your body responds the same way. It's inflammatory. Exactly. Literally, it's like it helps with arthritis. Get rid of it.
Exactly, your joints.
Yeah.
My God, I used to have joint pain at night, like way back when I lived in LA, like a long time ago. And I was a lot younger. I mean, come on, and it was like glucosamine, man, morning and night, and at night, my knees and my hips, and I was like, Jesus Christ, I was only in my 40s or something, and so. I mean, now it's like it's ridiculous. I'm all over the place, and just everything. Sleep, mood swings, non-existent for women. At the age we have to start thinking about stuff like that. Come on, man! You want your women happy. There's a great cookbook called Eat Happy by Anna Vicino, and it is freaking amazing. It's no sugar, no grain, gluten free. I'll send you the link later after we get off the air and all this stuff. And we're gonna end this here because I don't want to keep you all night. I feel bad for keeping you this long, but thank you so much for doing this. Don't feel bad. You waited so long.
I know, but
so nice.
But just do me a favor and just hold on, then we can say goodbye off the air.
Sure.
It'll just be a minute. I'm going to hit my outro music. I'm just going to read a couple of these comments before I leave. Scotty Strickland from Canada says, this has been an awesome show. Thank you, both of you, for the awesome time. Glad I tuned in.
Oh, it's so sweet. Oh,
Harold
so nice.
Harold Bennett says, this is a really good show. One of my favorite artists for many years. I couldn't believe when I saw her name in the email podcast alert. I enjoyed this a lot. So, and Bruce says,
wow. Thank you guys so much.
And Bruce says, all tomorrow's parties.
Oh, that's a great one. That is a great one. That's a great track. I love that track. See, you can hear my Ukrainian influence in that track.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm just going to talk like that forever now.
There you go. Just do me a favor before I hit my outro music. Please tell people where they can find you, your website, your social media, all that good stuff.
Oh, yeah. You can go to www.JohnetteNapolitano.net. I also do readings. I do a year reading for people, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to do one tonight before I go to bed for somebody in Ireland. So there you go, red hair. That's right.
Nice, ginger pride.
And of course, you can go to Apple Music, and they have a 30-year-old bio that I can't figure out how to change up there. So no wonder everybody thinks I'm dead. That's like a rabbit hole I cannot fucking finish. Go to the page where it says administrator. Page not found. Fuck you. What are you gaslighting the shit out of the world? So the usual places. YouTube especially, though, I really want you to see the Riding the Moon video because it's a piece of art.
It's great.
And tardigrades, everybody should know what a water bear is because they're really cool little creatures. And I want to shout out to, in New Zealand, Gerardo Cesar, who is a Mexican who lives in Auckland, New Zealand, and did that amazing animation. So I hope he wins in the South by Southwest video competition, which we're going to enter. Yeah. So thanks for listening. Thank you guys for saying all those nice things.
And
that's really cool.
And thank you so much for finally doing this. And you don't know what an honor it was for me to finally get you on the phone. And I feel like I've been talking to a friend just bullshitting for the last hour and a half. So thank you.
Well, we got to stick up. There's so few of you gingers left.
That's right.
Few of you left.
That's right. You felt sorry for a ginger. That was what it was. Thank you, Johnette.
I did. I had to do it.
I love it. Please hold on. I'm going to finish up the show. We'll say goodbye off the air. Johnette Napolitano.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
A new instrumental I'm going to put on Facebook on Halloween.
Love it. Love it. I cannot wait.
Dancing voodoo dolls. You got to have dancing voodoo dolls.
There you go. Dancing voodoo dolls. I freaking love it.
Yep.
Make sure you guys check out A&P Productions Laser Engraving Division. They are in central Minnesota. They do a lot of stuff up there, but you can do it online, and you can buy one of my roadie packs that have been done by them that include they include a flask, they include a dog tag, they include a Zippo, and a clicky flashlight gimmick, all with the Another Effin' Podcast logo on it for only $30. Hit me up about that. Make sure you do check out all the social media. Check out John Palumbo Design. You need a band design. You need a website done. Hit up John Palumbo Design. He will take care of you. We will see you next week. I'm working on my guest for next Tuesday night because we are back on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. California time. That is going to be the exact time each and every week now. Because I said so. Because we need some structure in our lives every once in a while. So there you go. And catch me every Monday through Friday on the Monsters of Rock on Dash Radio. I am your morning gas bag. We will see you next week. And don't forget, what I lack in talent, I make up for in cock. It's another fucking podcast.